Hello everyone, this is Risky Lizard. I'm going to make a quick video on accumulating resources throughout the week and what you can do in the best interest of preparing for, research and building and other various things. So I'm going to tell you where you can get all of your different resources from, as far as resource tiles and chests and events and stuff like that, and just kind of walk you through how I go about getting my resources. So up here at the top left of your screen, you'll have your little icons here. Where you can see the different resources that you have. You have bread, iron, and gold. Those are your three key resources. Those will be available pretty much all the time. And then below that, you can see that I have mutant crystals and a mutant protein from Season 1, and then it goes on to be other resources in Season 2 and 3. But let's just keep this specific to bread, iron, and coins. So one of the main ways that you can get resources is from your resource tiles in your base, and I wanted to start with this one because it's kind of the most important. And you can see mine are all wiggling and gold. That is because they are maxed out. They're no longer producing any more resources. So when they get close to being here, or when they are here, I personally recommend that you organize these in a way that makes the ones that yield the most be the highest on the end. So for example, I can move this one over somewhere really quick, and I can see that these max out at 1.2 million. This isn't so much important, but this is just a little process that I do, and the reason for this is going to depend on where your survivors are put inside of these nodes. But this lets you know what the maximum is for these tiles, and you can see here the highest iron I have is 1.3 million. The highest gold I have is 878k, and then 1.3 million for bread. So I know when these three right here are getting close to these numbers, about 1.3 million, really you just have to remember one of them. So when this is getting close to 1.3 million, I'm going to apply to the Secretary of Interior buff. And luckily, as soon as I apply to this, I'm going to auto get it. But what this does is this will give you a 100% yield when you collect these resources. So you can see here, I've got let's go ahead and just pull up the calculator. I've got 1.3 million plus 1.2 million plus 1.2 million plus 1.2 plus, let's just say about 1 million on that last one. So I've got about 5.9 million iron here. And just to kind of show you the effect of that, right now I've got 8.6 million iron. So if we take the baseline of 8.6 and I collect this 5.9 million iron, I get way more than 5.9 million iron. So I have my 8.6 original, and now I've got 16.2 million iron. So in total I got 7.6 million out of that instead of 5.9. So you get a couple extra million, with the bread and the iron, and usually almost a couple million extra for the gold and the bread. And this only works if you apply for the Secretary of Interior buff and you have it active. It only applies when you collect. So it doesn't apply to things like the truck, but you want to make sure that you're also claiming your resources from this truck and not letting it maximize. I just click this as often as I can. But that's pretty much it for the bases inside, or sorry, the stuff inside your base. And again, these survivors, it's always a good priority to upgrade all of your gold miners, your iron miners, and your farmers first, just so that you have a good pool of resources coming in, and that can be done here at the talent hall. You could just go here, and anytime you have, I can scan these. So I've got mechanic, this is iron storekeeper. None of these are the ones I want to upgrade. So anytime I see a miner, for example, and I have tokens for them, I'm going to upgrade them because this gives them a pretty significant boost for their gathering, and it really makes these numbers a lot higher. So that's something you do want to kind of min-max and get up as quick as possible, and don't underestimate the level of them either. Most of mine I think are at 24, 25. I'm trying to get them all to 25 right now at least, but it's not really something you need to take all the way to 30, but at least getting them to 25. As you can see, I got a pretty sizable chunk, and I think the gather rate, or the gather time on this, is, yeah, about 11 hours to get the maximum production. So at least twice a day you can gather all of these. Usually right when I wake up and usually sometime right before I go to sleep, I'll gather twice. And again, just apply for the Secretary of Interior buff, and that's the only time that that will actually work. So other ways that you can get resources are from your UR trucks. So let's talk about the UR trucks and resources. So anytime you have a truck, they progressively give you more and more resources as you increase the rarity of the truck. And of course, Reindeer trucks, they have the most resources. You can see I get 7.6 million bread and iron and almost 5 million coins from each Reindeer that I send out. So bearing that in mind, Reindeer are significantly better than your standard UR truck, but it's still, several million, and then purples give less, and blues give less, and greens give less, and whites give even less. So you just want to try to send out the rarest trucks that you can to accumulate resources, because you can only send out 4 to 5 of these a day, depending on where your inner city tech research is. So mine's at 97%. So I've got good defense. This particular skill here will increase how much you get from sending out trucks, like how much resources you get with your trucks. So that's a boost. And then this will increase how many trucks you can send out. And then of course I've got the Reindeer upgrade, which gives you a significant chunk of resources with your trucks. So that's pretty much it for the trucks. Just send out the best ones you can. Make sure you're always sending them out. While I'm here, a little pro tip: don't send out all of your trucks back to back to back. Make sure that you actually space them out when you send them out. And the reason is, when they leave your base, if you view it, you can see here, my truck it's going to head to the nearest city, and it's going to take a path straight from my base right here. So my truck is physically viewable on the map, and if you send them all out at the same time, they will all be gathered together. So if I sent out all 4 of those Reindeer, it'd be like a little shopping spree for somebody. When they go to view this Reindeer, they're going to see the other 3, and they'll just plunder them all, because I don't have, squads to defend that many. So, but you can usually see somebody's done it. This is a good example of what it would look like. This is 2 different people who sent out trucks, but they'll be stacked on top of each other like that if you are somebody who sends out, multiple trucks and doesn't space them out. Right now is not a really good time because a lot of people are asleep on our server, but you kind of get the point. So that's it for trucks. Another way that you can get resources, of course, is, if you are in the mall up here and you buy the Super Monthly Pass, this is something not to underestimate. I think this is a really good value. You get the gather speed for all of your marches increased by 10%. So that can be really helpful just to, throughout the day. The only tile really, in my opinion, worth farming is gold, just because the gold constraint on tech research. So I try to find a level 12 gold node. It doesn't matter if it's half eaten or not. It's still going to gather more gold per minute than a lower level node. But I just send out my trash 4th squad out to gather it. And, that monthly pass gets you the 4th squad. So provided you're over level 24. So, it's a little bit. And it takes 12 hours to do a full level 12 node. But if you can squeeze out, 400,000 gold 2 times a day, that's an extra million gold. So that's an extra 7 million a week, and that's an extra 28 million a month. All of that stuff adds up in the long run. But depending on where you are as far as spending money on resources, that may or may not be something you're interested in. So gathering tiles, that's a big one for getting resources, just not letting your squads sit in your base. And I mean, if you've got nothing going on with your squads, you may as well. Like, I don't have anything going on with my squads right now, and I'm not going to use my 3rd and 4th squad to do anything in the game. No, nothing serious anyway. But that squad's going to end up getting pulled in a second, because we're going to talk about the next thing I recommend for getting resources, and that is going to be scouting and finding good bases to plunder. And the way that I would recommend doing that is teleporting around the map and getting an idea of, who you want to attack. So let's start with the battle report. Anytime you scout a base, well, or click something random, anytime you scout base, here we go, here's some scout reports, it'll show you up here at the top how many resources that you can get. So you kind of want to pay attention to these ratios because you will get gold in the amount of, or sorry, you'll get resources in the amount of the resources that they have, like proportionate to how many they have. So this person, for example, has 29 million bread and iron and then 21 million coins. So if I were to hit them, I could expect to see, you know, let's say, I'll just divide it. Like I could expect to see something to the tune of like, you know, 1 million bread, 1 million iron, and like 600,000 gold, for example. But I would get less gold because they have less gold than the other two. So it does matter who you hit and what their resources look like, because that'll determine how much of which you get. But you'll always get up to your troop load maximum, and the troop load maximum is determined by your units. As soon as it stops doing that. So here you can see there's this one with a little iron beam, and this is boost your load capacity for units. And that goes on down here, boost load capacity for units, all the way down to the bottom. And each one of these can increase how much they can carry, and that determines how much you can plunder when you go out and plunder each day. So basically, a good strategy that I follow is using the free teleport system in Season 1. If you're not in Season 1, you won't have this, but you can go to the grouping tab, just pop over to a random server. Can't plunder on non-war days, so we're not hitting these, but what we're doing is we're going to go right back to our server, and we're just going to go somewhere to the edge of the map. I'm going to go somewhere where it looks like it's not crowded, which is about right here, but there's a lot of like old bases that are out here, and I'm just looking for ones with like slightly higher average levels, and I'm just going to drop myself in the middle of them. And this is a good strat because pretty much anybody over level 15 can typically have up to 1 billion resources. So I'm just going to start scouting people here. I've got 3 scout planes, and I'm just going to, this is a lot easier than sending out long scout planes, and I'm just going to try to see if I can find anyone who's got, like, you know, a decent ratio of resources that I feel comfortable spending my plunder limit attacking. So I'm just going to grab a few more, and while those go out, we'll start checking the battle reports, and we'll just go down here and just start looking. So this one, they only have hundreds of thousands of resources. This one has millions. Their highest is bread. I don't want bread. This person's highest is bread. I don't want bread. This is another bread, iron, low coins. This one is pretty balanced. This one low, and this one's got a lot of bread and iron, hundreds of thousands. So this is kind of a situation here. This person has a ton of resources, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a ton of resources. It just means that you're going to get amounts proportionate to what they have, but they have 300 million less coins than how much bread and iron they have. So I'm going to mostly get bread and iron, and the least I'm going to get is of the coins. So not too interested in that particular person for that reason, but let's go ahead and just hit a person, and we will show you how it works anyway. So I'm going to find that guy who's got billions of resources, this one, and you could just click these coordinates, go to their little base here, and you can speed march. You want to send your best squad to do your plunders. You never know if they have troops on the wall. You don't want an embarrassingly long walk of shame back home, but you can tile hop like this to get to their base faster, and then when you get close by, you can just change the march for that person. But your better squads are going to carry more troops with them. So they are, like here you can see these carry 2,230. This only carries 1,600. So the more troops they have, the more they can carry. And once you're done plundering a base, you can go here to the mail and the battle report again, and you could see how many resources you got. And as I was saying, they had more bread and iron, so proportionate to their ratios, I was able to steal 6.1 million resources per hit it's going to evenly distribute that at the same ratio of resources they are holding. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, your plunders have different thresholds of limits throughout the day. So I'm going to just take my squad back here really quick, and we're going to look for someone else who kind of has a little chunk of resources. Okay, so he was over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit this person a few times, about 5 times. Let's see, so that was the second. This will be the third. This will be the fourth. And this will be the fifth. So up here on the top left where my War Fever is, you can see that I don't have an indicator yet. But after I hit this time, this will be my 6th time. Still not showing. Let's see here. Go back there to the world. So it's going to be one more, I think. Can't remember if it's 6 or 7. It depends on how much plunder you're taking. How much loot you're taking. There it is. So I have this icon that popped up now. And it says, you've plundered 32 million and, well, 32.9 million resources today. Plunder income is now reduced to 15%. So now, out of that 6.1 million I was able to steal, I'm only going to be able to steal 15% of 6.1 million. So it's significantly reduced. And this is to discourage people from just hitting people nonstop all day. So there is like a game mechanism there. So you want to kind of keep that in mind. Like, it's not an arbitrary limit. It's to basically stop people from getting trolled. So there's one more stage to this. That was, I believe, on the 7th or 8th hit. And it keeps going. It goes as low as 5%. But after you get to, I can't remember if it's like 15 hits or so, it'll go to a different threshold of limiting how much plunder you can get. So we'll just keep hitting this one. Let's see. Still not there. Still not there. Okay. There. So now this icon is red, and that shows you now I've gotten up to 41 million. So it's not a whole, like, it's not a small amount extra that you can get, you know, like almost 10 million extra resources is quite a bit for like an extra 50 stamina. So some people typically don't take it to red, but I do take it to red. But at this point, the plunder income is now reduced to 5%, and I no longer think it's personally worth it. The only reason I would go continue to plunder in the red is because it's still like, you know, a couple of 100,000 for only 5 stamina. And in terms of doing a Doom Elite, you know, this will give you, you know, 200,000, 270,000, and 176,000, which sounds better, but this takes 20 stamina. Each one of those hits only took 5, but you're not getting all of the experience, drone data, and other cool stuff that you get. So I still think Doom Elites are more worth it once you get to this red mark rather than continuing, but it is a very stamina intensive thing to do. So, but that's generally how the plunder limit works, and of course this resets every day. Your War Fever will go away after 15 minutes, but you can always come to the battle reports here and you can check and see how many resources you're getting, and you can see that I'm getting about 15% right here of 6.1 million, and then on that last hit you can see I got about half of that, so it got reduced even further, by more than half, of course. But this is where you can kind of check your how many resources you're bringing back and what you're getting specifically. And that's pretty much all there is to plundering bases. You just want to make sure you're doing this daily, because again, as you saw, that's 40 million resources every single week. So there's another higher level option that I personally would recommend, and when it comes to assessing where your resources are, I probably should have did this in the beginning of the video, but you can click your inventory and click statistics, and here you can see how many resources you have for the season that you're in, of course. But you can see I've got, in total, I've got, this is my item total, so this is how much I have that are stored in chests on the left, And in the middle, resources held, this is how much I have that's available. So if my base gets hit and they breach my base and set it on fire, then they're going to be able to tap these resources here. But that's why you want to keep your resources in the chest, because keeping your resources in these chests will prevent people from being able to steal them because they can't steal the chests. So when it comes to these resource chests, what I personally recommend doing is only ever opening them for coins. And the reason is because whether you think it or not, you are eventually going to always run into an issue where you need coins. So I only ever open the general chests for coins. These other chests, they will just come to you with time for iron and bread. Iron and bread are relatively easy to accumulate in the game, and you need significantly less iron and bread than you do coins, because everything uses coins and research uses way more coins. So I personally open all of my chests for coins, and that's how I sustain a high amount of coins. Of course, I did have like 1.6 billion coins, but I just did a little bit of tech research and lost like 600 million just to that, because I'll show you. When you get to the lower branches for tech in special forces, and you are trying to get tier 10 troops, this tech down here is insanely expensive. This one's 220 million per upgrade, and I've got to do 7, and it'll increase with each upgrade. The last upgrade for the advanced protection here was about 500 million gold, and for tier 10s, it's another 500 million gold. So, you know, you always feel like you might have enough gold, but I promise you never do. So the best thing to do is to just let the other resources come to you and only use general resource chests for gold. And that for me is a pretty good balance. Bonus round while I'm here, you can also check how many speed ups you have. And then you can also check how much, like what stamina you have stored in form of refreshes, your diamonds, and how much experience you're sitting on for the time being. So with all that in mind, there is another thing that you can do in the game for resources, but to show you that one, I'm going to teleport back to my hive because I'm going to enlist the help of my alliance members who are online to help me do that one. So again, just using the free season teleport, going in between these two here. Trying desperately to go in between these two here. There we go. Click the arrow. Squeeze back into my martial guard spot. And we're back. So the other event that is really good for resources but does consume a lot of stamina are the gold zombies. So invading zombies, zombie invasion, I believe it comes every 3 weeks. These are extremely easy to kill and take basically no power at all. So you can kill them with, I'm pretty sure you can kill them with like a level 60 Loki probably, with some gear on him. So but what I do is I just send out, my third squad. Actually, I don't do that because that squad pad is slow. Actually, send out my second squad because I have that garage fully upgraded. I move faster because this garage 2, you can see it's not upgraded. Garage 1 is, garage 4 is. My tanks are on my garage 4 out here. My aircraft is on 1. So what I sent out was my tanks because they move a little faster, but you can tile hop to get to these quicker because it's a slow march, which can make it a little bit more tolerable. But you're basically want to kill these zombies, and every time you kill one, you have a chance to spawn what is called a zombie boss. And in the events tab for the zombie invasion, you can see here someone has, in my alliance, has spawned one of these, and you can also click my findings, but I haven't found any yet. So what you can do is while you're out here killing the gold zombies, which again, they come every 3 weeks, they're not always here, and they're only here for, I think, 4 days when they do come here. But you're basically going to spend 10 stamina per time you kill one of these, but then when you kill them, you get this currency that you can use, courage medals, and that can be used to buy stuff out of the zombie invasion store, which among those are more resources. But these give a pretty significant amount of resources, and Monica will not increase these resources. But you can see I get more than I get from a Doom Elite, and it's pretty balanced, which is nice. So that's something to keep in mind. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to keep on attacking these out here to see if I can spawn one for you. Anytime they are going to spawn a zombie boss, when these individuals here die, they will say something that'll make a boss come out. So it's like a little line of text that pops up, so you can usually tell right away if one is going to spawn or not. But in the meantime, while you're waiting, what you can do is you can just go here, and you can actually help people fight their zombie bosses and kill them on the map. Which I will do one of those to show you why you would and why you might not want to do that. But so when you go to a zombie boss, you can see here there's the rally initiator rewards, so you'll get a pretty sizable chunk of resources, which is nice because you get most of all gold, which is what you want. And it's the same for the discovery. The only difference is that the person who discovers it, they get 20 stamina back, and they get a ton of the courage medals to spend in the store. So if you ever find one of these bosses, it is common courtesy to do the rally, because you're going to get the stamina refund for doing this. This is going to cost me 20 stamina to do this rally for this person. But if they started the rally, we could all join and help them, and they would get the stamina back. So it ends up being free if they do it. So that's kind of one thing you always want to be doing, is making sure that you're, doing your own zombie boss rallies just as a courtesy to your alliance members, so they can use their stamina to go out and spawn more zombie bosses. It's just better for everybody. So when you kill a zombie boss, which I will show you now that that's dead, so you can go here and you can see I got the 80 courage medals, and of course Gano, the person zombie boss I just killed, he's going to get significantly more and a stamina refund. And those refunds will come in the event tab here. When you kill a zombie boss, you'll get a little letter that shows that you got, the discovery rewards after you killed the zombie boss. So that's something to keep in mind. But talking about the store for the zombie invasion, while I attempt to spawn one of these bosses with my horrible luck, there is a store that you can access for the zombie invasion up here. It's called the Trade Store in the event tab under zombie invasion. And that's where you go to spend your courage medals. And the courage medals are, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just park here really quick. And you saw how he said some words and spawned. So now I'm just going to go ahead and start a rally. And I'll talk about the store while that rally goes. But you can go here into the events tab, Trade Store. And here you can see I've got some courage medals from last time, but there's certain things in here you absolutely want to buy every single time, and certain things you kind of want to buy last. Obviously the stamina, they're super cheap. 30 courage medals, that's 3 zombie kills for the stamina, so you definitely want to get that one. The drone parts are a very high priority, but they're very expensive, so I usually get all the cheap stuff first, like the speed ups for example. You can get 100 of these 5-minute speedups for only 400. That's really cheap. So I just go ahead and buy all of these. The upgrade ore, this is 5,000 upgrade ore, but it's pretty expensive too. It's 10,000 courage medals. That's quite a bit. I don't really bother getting synthetic resin. That's not really worth it in my opinion. You're actually better off just saving it until next time, so that you can buy all this stuff the next time the event comes around. These chests are actually a really good deal. This is surprisingly not a lot of courage medals for 3 blue chests, and the drone part chests are also another really good deal, so I'd always advise getting those, also really cheap. And then of course here are the resource chests, and you can get 100 coin chests, which is an insane amount of coins, by the way. I might have 100 of these laying around to show you how much it is for me at level 30. I will check that in a second. But I try to buy all of these resource chests because this is a ton of resources. And the other things that I try to buy are all of the survivor tokens and stuff, but I don't have enough for that right now. But especially these universal weapon shards. Those are definitely the highest priority. So you can unlock the special weapons for Kimberly, DVA, and Tesla. So at this point, I have killed my zombie boss, and you can see here the level 55 that I killed, and I got the same rewards that I got when we killed Ganos, which was the other zombie boss I killed. But here in my mail under events, you can see I get a zombie invasion intel reward, and this is where every time you get one of these, you can go here and claim these extra courage medals, which is quite a bit. 300 is a lot after you just saw the store and what stuff costs. So spawning and killing your own zombie bosses is definitely what you want to do for getting courage medals. So if you needed encouragement to get out there and kill these gold zombies, this is by far one of the best resource events that I've had. And in your inventory, you can use these stamina shards for this event to get more stamina to do more of these. I went through about 100 of them last event, and I managed to get about 1 billion of each resource, and I think like 500 or 600 million gold. So, and that was just from killing them. That had nothing to do with opening the chests that I got. So I got quite a few resources out of all of that. So that's pretty much it for the events, the world map, and your base. There are other things that you can do to get resources that you want to make sure you're doing every week. And I can't show you this one right now, but I already completed the stages this week. But every couple of days, this campaign will reset, so it resets in 16 hours, so tomorrow it will reset. But you can try new levels, or you can repeat a single old level that you already competed. So for example, I've finished aircraft, so all I can do with my aircraft squad now is just do level 50, but that will give me about, I think, 39,000 campaign medals. And so I'm working to progress my tank squad to the end, but if I get to a point where I get stuck, then I remember that, because the next time the campaign resets, I will step down a level so that I can complete more stages and go through the whole level, because you'll get more of these rewards when you make it through the whole level. And of course, in these chests, you have an opportunity to get 100 universal shards. Super rare. Some people get it all the time. Sometimes I rarely get it. I've gotten it once in like 3 months, but it's another reason to do the campaign. But the biggest reason why you want to be doing the honorable campaign is for the currency that you get from it. And you can actually access the store from here, which will take you here, or you can just click over here on the right on the Alliance tab and click Alliance Store. And if you go over here to Campaign, it's this tab. But you can see I buy pretty much everything in the store every single week, except the dielectric ceramics and the battle data. I think both of these are a waste. You don't really need to do this unless you're close to like a very meaningful upgrade with like a pre-mythic weapon or something. Maybe the dielectric ceramics, but never buy the drone data here. The battle data, it's not worth it. But this is, I believe it's 100 resource chests, and again, those are purples. And of course, there's 100 speed ups. So, and then there's the 100 experience chests and stuff. But in terms of resources, I buy these resources every single time, and again, I convert those into purple coin chests. So just 100 of these, to give you an idea, every week I'm able to get, that's going to be 80 million 81.2 million coins from 100 of those purple chests, because they're universal, but what I convert them into are coin chests. So that's why I have 655 of these, because I always convert all 100 every week into coin chests. So you can get a huge chunk of coins from the campaign store just doing that. And then of course, remember, you get 100 from the zombie store, so that's another 80 million coins that you get there. And then, so on and so forth. So there are other places that you can get resources, but I'm going to tell you the places I recommend that you actually don't ever buy resources under any circumstances, because it's just a freaking terrible deal. But while we're at it, secret tasks, you can get resource chests from these. If you're at least level 27, you can use the mega refresh option down here. Once you get down to a few tasks that aren't gold, and try to use your mega refresh to spend anywhere from like 400, 800, or 1200 diamonds for the last 3 tasks to make them gold, because these give, in most cases, resource chests or a few million resources, which again, every single day you're doing this stuff adds up. That's the whole goal, is doing all the little things, because they all add up. Same case when you go to assist allies here. Sometimes you can get resource chests from this. It's not a ton of resources, but it gives you a reason to get out there and click the assist button on these things. And same case when you plunder other individuals on other servers, and you steal stuff from them, and they have a little gift box, you can get resources from that as well. So doing that every single day, it all adds up. And just to kind of go back to what I was saying about where you shouldn't get resources from. Oh boy, probably going to get argued with for this one, but in the Alliance store, even though Alliance points come relatively easy, this is like the worst deal in the game. There's actually one worse than this, but spending 600,000 Alliance points to buy 50 of these resource chests is clinically insane. Not to mention it's so many Alliance points. It's just pathetically wasted because you should be buying all of these speed ups every single week. You should be buying the teleports for the kill event, the bubbles, just to have a stockpile of bubbles, the advanced teleporters, all the drone experience and ship stuff, drone parts, all of the shards to make your wall stronger, universal shards, the drone components, and these are time gated, so you're just not going to earn enough to make it meaningful impact on buying these, and they don't give enough resources to really warrant spending 12,000 Alliance points. So if you go here and you look at the different purple amounts, each one of those, this is only 1.3 million bread, and I'm HQ 30, so I get the most that I can get right now for these chests. And each one of these are only 1.3 million resource. So I don't personally think it's worth it. I would never buy, and I have never bought from the Alliance store. I haven't bought this chest even once. So the worst deal in the entire game are these right here, where you spend 50 diamonds to buy literally 50,000 bread or iron, or 18,000 coins. Anytime you're trying to build something and you don't have enough resources and it's telling you to spend diamonds on it, that's usually where it's telling you to actually go and obtain it. Right here, where it says that I can buy the coins that I need, and it's telling me to just buy it for straight diamonds. This cost, which always is very, very high, I'm sure you've seen it before, is reflective of the cost if you just buy them here. And there is a slightly discounted place here where you can buy these resource chests. This is also an absolutely horrible deal. I would not personally recommend buying these because for 4,000 diamonds you only get 100 of these chests. And I don't think I have any blues left for coins. I do. I have 43. But that's only going to be about 10 million coins, and you can get twice that just from your daily plunder, but you can't get 4,000 diamonds usually in a day very easily, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. And then, of course, there's some other places that you can get resources where I would not recommend getting them. In the various other stores, the resources are kind of just a trap. Never buy it out of the outer store. I've talked about it in every single one of my videos at some point, but the only thing you ever buy out of this store are the gear blueprints until all of your gear on all 4 of your squads is all 4 stars and pre-mythic. So you'll only ever be buying this because even if you've been playing the game since it came out, you still don't have enough gear blueprints to even be over like slightly halfway to that point yet. So, and that's years at this point. So you only want to be buying the gear blueprints from the store because this is the main way to obtain these for free. Otherwise you have to buy them, and they're like $6.25 per blueprint. So always be buying those. And we already went over this store. This is a really good deal to buy it from the campaign store. And then from the season store, of course, this isn't going to have any resources. This is more niche stuff. But there are places that you can buy them in. For example, it's Research Day in Verse. They'll always throw these deals in front of you to try to get you to buy these. I don't recommend buying these ever unless there's just some research you really want to push. Then I guess you could buy them, but it'll continue to increase. So it starts off at $5. This is in brick amounts, but this is 500 bricks is $5, 1,000 bricks is $10. So it'll go up in the fixed increments every time. With these packs, $5, $10, $20, $50, then $100, and then the $100 one is the last one they allow you to buy. And of course you get progressively more and more resources and speed ups with it. So you kind of have to weigh the benefit if it's worth it for you. I personally don't buy those. I call them the slot machine pop-ups because this is them trying to get you to spend money. And they're like, yeah, just spend $5 and you'll get this. Oh yeah, just spend $10 and you'll get twice as much, and so on and so forth. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of a Ponzi scheme. But in the hot deals, occasionally you'll get these battle passes. You see how this says it's worth 8,800%? These are like always worth it to get. If you're going to spend money on the game, if you're just pay to play and not pay to win, this is where you really want to be spending your money. And you can see you get legendary resource chests and legendary or epic and legendary resource chests all up and down these passes usually, so it's worth it. This one was a drone ship one. It didn't really have any resources, but obviously drone ships make you really strong. And this is an ammo bonanza thing. They don't really have anything pertaining to resources here. You'll get these spend events like Moonstone Blessing, and every time you spend like $10, $30, $50, $70, and $100, as long as they have these little moonstones on the pack you're purchasing, then you'll get to claim all of the things up to that. That can kind of be worth it if you've got some planned spending coming. So let's say you want to buy a $100 pack. You can go here to your weeklies, and you can see here this will give you all 1,000 moonstones from a $100 pack or a 10,000 brick pack, to make you get all those resources. So if you had something big here that you wanted to spend money on, you could technically do that. I don't personally think anything in the weekly, daily, I don't think anything in the mall is worth it. I don't buy anything from here. I think all of the stuff here is just overpriced, and I leave it to the whales to waste their money here. But if you need more resources, of course, if you want to spend money, there is, of course, the credit card way of obtaining them. And there's a limited amount of these that you can buy. I think they only go up to $20. I have bought these a couple of times because I needed to build something before the kill event started. I didn't want to lose a bunch of resources I was holding. But I think these go from $5 to $10 to $20, and then the last one you can get for the day is a $20 one, but they'll increase the amount that you get. But this one's nice because it gives you, Valor badges with coins. There's some on here down at the bottom that just give you the straight resource that you're lacking. And of course, you always want to be paying attention to the amount of diamonds you get. 1,000 diamonds is worth about 30,000 points in an arms race. So if you buy one of these, this will automatically complete your arms race. So you want to make sure you're timing the purchases of these resource packs, if you do buy them, and spread them out over multiple arms races, because they will complete every arms race except unit progression, which takes 75,000 points. So you'd probably need to buy this pack, 3 times to complete unit progression. But you should never buy packs for unit progression anyway, because you always need troops, and troops training is really easy to do, so especially if you're waterfall training. But there's resources here in the daily must buy tab. There's also resources in this weekly tab here. Again, this is just a scaled up version of those daily packs that give you significantly more coins and a little bit more iron and bread, with a ton of speed ups and valor to push getting like tier 10s. And then of course they limit how many you can get each week. Again, I leave that for the whales to waste their money on. But then, base expansion, they give you speed ups, diamonds, and resources. That's $20. And then just down here, there's a few other different things, but nothing that give you resources. The weekly pass can be good in the start, but it's less worth it towards the end. But this will give you, diamonds when you purchase it, and you can get a daily diamond pickup as well. But I don't personally think these are worth it anymore, where I'm at. But you can get up to 7 million coins per day. This is a daily pickup, and in total for the week you'll get 51 million, and it only costs you $5. So keep that in mind. It can be worth it. The take all is worth it now that they put the diamonds in here, but it used to not be here. You used to only get the coins, bread, iron, and experience, and back then it wasn't worth it. But now it is, because each one of these packs are $5, but you can take all for 20, so you save $5. But yeah, so this is another place where you can get a pretty good chunk of resources. I mean, 85 million iron and bread a week. It's nothing tiny, but I don't really think this is worth spending $15, in my opinion. Not anymore anyway. It's a bit hypocritical, because I did buy this in the beginning when I was, speed building everything to try to catch up, because I started a week late. So there's some other fast growth packs here. This is like clickbait. I think all of these are garbage. Again, this is just something for whales to waste money on. These packs basically exist so that when you've bought everything in the daily must buy and the weekly deal, if you still want to rage spend money on the game, then you would go here to do that. But that's basically, these are, if you look at the percentages, this is a pretty good indication of if it's worth it or not. These are only 1,800%. You're basically getting screwed on every single one of these. So I would not buy any of this garbage, honestly. So that's just my personal take. But you know, they're called fast growth packs for a reason, and stuff like that, because it's literally buying your way to the end. So you're paying a premium for that. Of course, never buy diamonds. Store's garbage. But that's pretty much it for getting resources. I'm sure I'm missing a few other things. Actually, I was missing one. Of course, when you plunder, I think I covered this in the beginning with the trucks. But anytime you plunder these, you want to make sure you're plundering the highest level truck you can, because these will give you, you know, a boosted amount of resources. So for the UR trucks, I'm getting like 2.1 million coins. Then it goes down to 1.9 for purple, and then for blue it goes down to 1.2, and then for a white truck it goes down to 300. So you never want to plunder pretty much anything except a UR truck. And the only thing you would do differently is if one of these had like a really good shard roll or something. And then of course ideally you're looking for Reindeer to plunder. I can't plunder them because they're an ally, but when you plunder these, you're going to get a much bigger chunk of these resources. And I can actually show you how much, because my reindeer always get plundered. So I can go here to my history, and I can go to my dispatch, and I can find a reindeer that was plundered. And you can see here they got 1.9 million, 1.9 million, and 1.2 million just from plundering my reindeer. They almost got my resource chests, which would have been even better for them, because, you know, they get an extra, you know, 10,000 resources times 100 chests. So, you know, that's a good chunk of extra resources of your choice there. So you want to make sure you're plundering every single day and just doing all of the things, and the resources will eventually build up over time. But that's generally the goal for building up all your resources. Of course, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.